And we are live. Okay, so just this article that I watched, it was going over the strong women in Doctor Who, and they pulled up. I saw the picture of William Hartnell with Barbara Wright, and I knew exactly which episode. It was the Aztecs. It was probably the fourth or fifth story arc with Barbara and Ian and Susan, which is all the way back to like the first halfway through the first season back in 1963, and I am a firm believer that the reason why the Doctor tells people today don't wander off is because of Barbara, because she was notorious for doing nothing but wandering off, never listening to the Doctor. Like, she was the first woman to get them into more problems because she didn't listen and she wandered off. So ever since Barbara, he has said, don't wander off, because she does. And in this particular episode that they were using in this article as an example, that Barbara was a strong-headed woman, that she was very independent. Like, they were painting her out to be this great character that brought so much to the role. Now, don't get me wrong. She absolutely did bring a lot to the role. But she was a nitwit. There's just no way around it. She was an absolute moron for the first half of her existence on the show. She was always the one wandering off. If there was a big red lever that says do not touch, she would be the one to touch it. She got caught in more traps. She required the most rescuing. She was an absolute ditty. And in the Aztec episode, a phenomenal episode, she's a historian. She went to Cole House. I can't remember the name of the school. It was the school that you see in the class now.
Yeah.
She was the teacher from there for history. So she was a history nut. And that what played into the Doctor going to all these historical locations, and she could give you the book version of it, and then you saw the Doctor giving you the real version, and compare them. And the Aztecs was one of them. So she's giving you all the facts about the Aztecs and how they vanished.
Oh, I think I've seen that episode.
Yeah, and she did not want to see them get extinguished. So my favorite line, it was just a very amazing line. She said that she was going to rewrite history. And William Hartnell, five arcs into Doctor Who, screams at her, don't you dare rewrite history. Not one line. And it was really amazing to hear that line by William Hartnell all the way back then, still being repeated all the way up to even today. But they painted her out to be this great thing. And I'm just like, no, she wasn't. She was an idiot who caused most of the Doctor's problems at first.
I seem to recall she was an idiot in that episode.
Yeah, she was. And that was her normal. It wasn't until later. And it was funny because there was also Susan, his granddaughter. And the more intelligent Barbara became, the more obnoxious Susan got. And it was like Susan was wonderful and Barbara was an idiot. And at one point, they got this great balance, like right about in here. It lasted for a single arc. And then Barbara started to get really smart and started to keep herself together and stopped being a nuisance. And Susan got screechier, louder, and far more obnoxious. So by the end of Susan's time with the Doctor, it's an on-standing joke with me where she was so obnoxious that her own grandfather, the Doctor, abandoned her on a Dalek-infested planet Earth. And he did. He absolutely did. And he said he was going to come back for her, and he never did. So, yeah, Susan was, yeah. But they did a lot of, and the other article I read recently was Tom Baker was expecting there to be a female Doctor come on instead of Peter Davison. And that was back in I think 81, 82, where he was pushing for a Doctor.
That article he said that. I'm not sure if he actually believed it, because at that point I think they'd already cast Peter Davison.
They did, yeah. And he had mentioned that he really wanted to see a female Doctor. And of course,
although there had been mention of that by one of the showrunners earlier, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At one point too. So I mean, it's not unprecedented, this female Doctor.
Yeah. And it's something that never really crossed my mind until Missy came on the scene. And I have a really hard time with the Master's portrayal in general, because I know the Master from way back when with the Tom Baker portrayal. Yeah. I know the Master with his deformity. He had 4 faces that I'm very familiar with. 2 of them he looked like a mummy and a rotted corpse that the Doctor did to him. And then the other two were this, he almost looked like Doctor Strange. He was evil. And to see him as the younger blonde, the look he was going for when he was with David Tennant, that was very weird for me. I didn't like that look at all. And then when he went to being Missy, again, to me, it's not the Master. The Master was...
Yeah. Well, I've never seen the original actor, or the original.
Yeah.
I saw the Master portrayal by Eric Roberts in the TV movie.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
And the John Sims portrayal and Missy. And that's basically, I mean, I've seen clips and things at the original.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've never actually seen an episode.
And that was the other thing, was the evolution work, how they changed it over the years. They changed the Dalek story. They changed the Master's relationship. This whole backstory with the Doctor and the Master, that's all new. That's 100%. They were friends, but there was no talk about the Academy. You didn't hear about his studies until they called him Sigma. I can't remember his second name, but Sigma was the Doctor's name. A friend came along and started calling him Sigma, and he says, yeah, I don't go by that name anymore. And I was led to believe during this particular period that the Doctor's real name was Sigma. And then it came out later, they altered this in the story, that was a nickname that he was given in high school, in college, before he chose the name the Doctor. So that's had a lot of alterations on it over the years.
I think the entire Doctor Who backstory's had a lot of alterations over the years. Yeah. They've retconned a lot of it.
Yeah. They've embellished a lot. There are very few contradictions. There are two particular.
Yeah, actually, they've been pretty good about it. I mean, they've explained it. I mean, it's pretty easy to explain with Doctor Who, though, because he's a Time Lord. He can just,
Yeah.
It's all timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly
timey-wimey stuff. What I wanted to talk about was the appearance of William Hartnell. That one absolutely fascinates me. There's all this talk about Jodie Whittaker being the Doctor, but I'm more on well, that's great, and I'm really, really thrilled to see a female Doctor. But really, what's going on with William Hartnell? And I say William Hartnell, it's not William Hartnell. It's the first Doctor.
Yeah. I'm
really eager to see why they've brought him back, how well that actor portrays William Hartnell. That's really what I'm looking forward to. I cannot express that enough. I am so eager to see him again. And I watched the movie version. It was a movie that BBC put out about 3 or 4 years ago now, when they did the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, I seen that.
I loved the movie, and I think I have to go back and check, but I think the actor who played William Hartnell and that.
Yeah, I think it's the same actor too.
Yeah, and he did a phenomenal job as William Hartnell. Phenomenal job. And it's really funny going back to those classic Who's and being able to watch them. There is an app called BritBox where you can get all the classic Who that's available through BritBox. It's a company owned by BBC, and they take everything that's on BBC and they put it here, including the classic Who's. I went through and scavenged for all the classic Who's in 2015 when I went back and looked at all of Doctor Who. It took me a year to watch all of it, and it took a lot. It took us 7 different platforms to find it all, 7 different websites and television programs to find all of Doctor Who. We watched all of the reconstructions. It was horrible. It was well worth it. I went back this last month to start watching it again, and it's all been stripped. All the websites that I had, it's all gone. It looks like BBC, and this is speculation, but it looks like BBC came down and they said, we're putting together this program. We need everyone, we're putting our copyright in now, and I need everyone to shut it down. So it looks like all of Classic Who has been shut down across all platforms. And now you can only get it through BritBox. And I just watched an article. It was actually an interview where they talked to David Peterson, the 5th Doctor. They talked to Ace, the lady who played Ace, who was Sylvester McCoy, the 7th Doctor's companion. And they talked to Colin Baker, the 6th Doctor. And they asked them their opinion on the 13th Doctor and how it's changed. It was a fascinating interview. But one of the things they asked, or they revealed, was that BritBox has BBC is dumping a small fortune into reconstructing all of the missing Doctor Who episodes. there's 97 of them that are missing, and they are reconstructing all of them. So that I'm absolutely thrilled about. And I came upon one of them just 2 nights ago. I was rewatching Patrick Troughton as the second Doctor. And if you liked Matt Smith, Patrick Troughton and him are almost identical. And I came to a reconstruction that I had missed the first watch around, and it was there this time. I've already started to see their reconstructions, and they're beautifully done. They're just impressive. But to see William Hartnell again, that's what I'm looking forward to. And I say William Hartnell, I don't know what else to call him. The first Doctor, that I'm really eager to see, to compare. So I'm curious to see what the TARDIS is going to do with the 13th Doctor.
Oh, yeah, that would be kind of interesting.
Because she, as in the TARDIS, remodels herself in the style of the Doctor.
I mean, but she's used to, I suppose in some ways, she's used to having a female in the TARDIS, because, I mean, River.
Yeah.
And all the companions. So, I mean, in that respect, it won't be, but it would be interesting to see if they will, though, if they will remodel the.
Do you think there will be curtains? There are curtains and flowers and throw pillows. I don't know.
I hope they don't do that. I really hope they don't do that.
Yeah, I really hope not. I really hope not.
Or they do it and she rips it all down.
Like, oh my God, this looks like a man's cave. I don't know. And this is where there's an inconsistency. In the classic Who, they make it very clear that the Doctor's the one who changes it. He's the one who says, nope, I'm rebuilding this. I don't like this. And David Tennant said it to an extent. I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Matt Smith, who goes into the 10th Doctor's TARDIS, and he says, oh yeah, this was my grunge stage, or my grunge period. So it kind of implies what was downright declared in the classic Who was that the Doctor is the one who built the TARDIS. He's the one who designs the insides, and every now and then he upgrades the console and the whole area himself.
Well, I always assumed it was some kind of like psychic connection that the Doctor.
No, that's all the new stuff that they're doing.
Yeah,
it was very much him manual, and you see that in the 4th Doctor.
Well, actually, there was the 9th Doctor had in the Doctor dances. He asked why he has a sonic screwdriver, and he says it was a late night and he had a lot of cupboards to put up. So it does imply that he does do work on the TARDIS.
I'm telling you, that's a lie. That's a lie. But okay, that was a very clever lie. But. And then with Matt Smith and how there's that massive implication that it's the TARDIS that builds herself. That was really, I didn't like that change. But if that's the case then, and I'm curious to see which way it will go with the 13th Doctor. Is she going to design the TARDIS inside, or is the TARDIS going to design it for him, the Doctor? This is going to be weird.
I'd be interested to see what kind of companion the 13th Doctor is going to have, though.
I didn't even think about that.
Are they going to go female, or are they going to go male? That's what I was wondering.
That's really interesting. Now, I love Jamie. I miss Jamie so much. I did not like Aldred. I think his name was Aldred. No one liked Aldred. No one liked Aldred. He died, and it was like, he died? Why'd they kill Aldred? I mean, I wasn't surprised, but no one was worse than Mel. No companion was worse than Mel. And I blame Mel for the reason why the 6th Doctor was so horrible, was because Mel was that bad. But Jamie, I love Jamie. I absolutely adore Jamie.
Yeah, I've seen a couple episodes with him. I liked him too.
I miss him so much. And in fact, the ones I'm watching right now are with the Doctor and Jamie. There's this episode. It's when they first meet the Brigadier. Second time they meet the Brigadier. And Jamie and the Doctor leave Zoe. Zoe's off playing with dress up, literally. And she's pretending to be a model. And Jamie and the Doctor take off. And she's having a grand old time with some girl time. And the Doctor and Jamie are being shot at, which is hilarious. There's something about it that just cracks me up because she's got feathers on and she's like in front of a camera. And she's like, I wonder what the boys are doing. And then you see Jamie and the Doctor running down this alleyway. It's great. There's like bad guy thugs coming this way, bad guy thugs coming that way. And what does the Doctor do? Sits down and starts playing gin. Literally sits down and starts playing gin in the middle of the street with Jamie. It's like, So I really miss Jamie, and I would love to see a male companion come back. He did have one other male companion that I really, really wanted to see the Doctor take. With Colin Baker, he walked into a room, and this man, he was probably 20s. He was a Christian reverend of sorts. And he took the Bible. He was convinced the Doctor was a demonic, satanized thing that needed to be exorcised. So the Doctor walks in the room, and this reverend flings his body across the room, and he says, "Get out, ye fair devil!" And he attacks him with the Bible like it's a sword. And the Doctor, not even paying attention, he's looking at something, and he steps aside, like he just shifts like this. And you see the reverend just kind of nosedive past the Doctor and lands against the wall, and he's like this, and he's like a squiggly little thing. He's really a small little thing. And then something changes in this guy, and he's like, "I want to go with you." And the Doctor's like, "No." So literally, he's like, "No, I'm not taking you with me." So he leaves. He gets into the TARDIS, and there he is. The guy successfully broke into the TARDIS and stowed away. And the Doctor's like, "What the heck are you doing here?" And this scrawny little companion wannabe actually managed to stick around with him for a couple episodes before the Doctor dumped him off. I loved him, and I would have loved to see him. I would love something like that. It was fantastic. There was just no other way to. I don't know what was up with that. I just can't figure out what was up with him. He went from being I think the Doctor said something to him and it won him over, and he's like, "Oh, okay, this isn't what I thought it was. Take me with you." And the Doctor's just like, "You can exercise me later. I've got to go." That's what he said to him, and he left. Colin Baker said that. "You can exercise me later. I've got to go." and he took off back to the TARDIS, and suddenly there he is the only companion to successfully slip into the TARDIS unseen by the Doctor. I think that he should have, yeah. But between Eldred, Jamie, and him, those were really the only. Oh, of course, and Ian. The first companion was Barbara and Ian. So, yeah, it has been a very long time since we've seen a male companion.
Well, unless you count Rory.
Oh yeah, Rory.
But he was kind of a half of a duo. So
yeah. Yeah, he was the tag along. He really was a tag along.
I liked Rory. I thought he gave
Rory.
Yeah, I thought he gave an interesting balance to the Doctor companion.
Yeah, and that
dynamic.
That was something. Yeah, I loved Rory.
Because I mean, he wasn't there like most companions are there because they want to be, right? And Rory was at least in the beginning, he wasn't there only for Amy. Because he didn't trust the Doctor.
Him. Yeah, no, the Doctor hijacked him from his own bachelor party. That was emergency date. You two need to be fixed up. It was crazy.
Yeah, he had the best when he walks into the TARDIS. He had the best opening line because he wasn't impressed.
Rory wasn't impressed.
No, he kind of knew what it was. Like most people say, "Oh, it's Peter."
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because Amy spoiled it. Yeah, that's right. Amy spoiled it for everybody, for River and for.
But I love it. Matt Smith's here waiting for Rory to be impressed, and it's like, oh, he's not.
Now I loved Peter Capaldi in The Husbands of River Song.
Oh yeah.
When she didn't realize he was the Doctor, and she's like, "Okay, we're gonna go in here now, and it's gonna be big. You know, you just wait for it." And she gets in the TARDIS, and he does this whole, "It's my turn. I finally get to do it." Wow, it's so huge. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, there's a lot. What are you going to miss about Peter Capaldi?
Well, I don't know. He brought a certain impressiveness back to the Doctor. You know, I mean, most of I love Matt Smith, but he was very absent-minded professor.
Yeah, that's the second. that's Patrick Troughton. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He was very. I mean, I love that. I mean, Matt Smith. I'm the new one. Matt Smith is my favorite, but Peter Capaldi brought it back to the gruff sort of.
Yeah, the first.
Bigger than life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when they gave him a monologue, that's what I'm going to miss most, is when they gave him a monologue to do.
Yeah.
He did it better than anybody.
They all had their moments. It's interesting
Yeah.
because every doctor has a monologue, and it's not even one. They have many monologues. Every one of them. Every one of them has had a massive monologue over and over. And you know you're watching Doctor Who when you get to the monologue. And it's really, I was watching, when I started watching it, there was this blank slate of, okay, William Hartnell, he's the first. There is no getting around it. He is the Doctor. And you watch his performance, and there really is no negotiating over how well his performance is. He is the Doctor. Anyone thereafter, now they're being judged. William Hartnell is the only Doctor who really got away scot-free without any judgment. Patrick Troughton came in, and Peter Davison says it best, and I absolutely echo what he said. Matt Smith also echoes what Peter Davison says. The 5th and the 11th Doctor are both favorites of number 2. That is their favorite. And they explained that of all the Doctors, Patrick Troughton had the biggest job because there wasn't such thing at that time, at any time, there still isn't, of uprooting a main character like that and bringing on a different actor to assume the role as a completely different personality. So Patrick Troughton, of all the Doctor regenerations, had the biggest job. He had to come in, present this concept, and then knock their socks off, or else the whole show would tank. And it was only 3 years running at the time, so tanking was very, very likely. And Patrick came in with his grandeur, obnoxious absurdities, and everyone fell in love with him almost immediately. He had to pull it off. And it was interesting, John Pertwee came in as the 3rd Doctor, then Tom Baker came in. And it wasn't until Peter Davison came along that you started to see them blending the Doctors. So with Doctors 1, 2, 3, and 4, they all are very, very, this is their personality. This is another personality. This is another personality. And this is another personality. But with Peter Davison, it's like, okay, I've got my formula. Now I'm going to mix and match it. And from there on after, it's just a mix and match. And it's fun to see which Doctor pulls out which personality. And this is where you really need to go back to Classic Who and see who's doing what, where is everyone pulling from. Now, that being said, William Hartnell was all about being serious. He was absolutely a very serious, this is what life is, this is where we're going to go. There's no room for argument. I don't think he ever smiled. I think he may have smiled twice in the entire 3 years he was on. He was a tired old curmudgeon. The 2nd Doctor was absolutely eccentric. There was just no eccentric. There's just nothing else around it. He could be serious. He could be interesting, but he was eccentric. That was it. And the 3rd Doctor, John Pertwee, almost went back to that curmudgeon, that is serious again.
Yeah, well, I just read a piece on that when they brought him in, they thought he was going to be comedic.
Yes.
Yeah, but he wanted to go serious.
That's right. Yeah, and he flipped it, and he went serious again. And then Tom Baker came in, and Tom Baker was intense. Like, intense. It was nail-biting what you watched with Tom Baker. And they also had physical characteristics that they did. And then when Peter Davison came on, he pulled that 3 combination. It was either serious, intense, or eccentric. And that was the formula you were going to get from there on, from each and every one of the Doctors. And it's interesting because you can actually match up every personality, every person who likes the Doctor, into what of those 3 personalities they prefer the most. I prefer eccentric. And so that's automatically going to fall me to the 2nd and the 11th Doctor. They nailed the eccentric, off the wall weird. And David Tennant was intense.
Yes, he was.
So intense.
Yeah, I always compare David Tennant to like a swashbuckler. Yeah. That's what he reminds me of. You know, he's like swashbuckler pirate type.
Yeah, he was absolutely Tom Baker. There was a saying when Tom Baker regenerates to the 5th Doctor where he's taking on the Master, and it's not swashbuckling, but he may as well have, they both had out their screwdrivers, and they're doing this kind of sword thing with the screwdrivers. And the Master pushes, okay, so this is an inside joke. This cracks me up. In the season finale, as Missy and the Master are walking around the doctor, Peter Capaldi's tied to a chair, and they start going over all the ways they could kill him. Well, you've been drowned, you've been this. And they look at him and go, "You've fallen." That cracked me up. Not only did he fall, but the Master's the one responsible for pushing him. And that just absolutely, I died. I was watching that and I just burst out laughing because he was sitting there. They were doing their swashbuckling, and he was up in a window in this tower, and the Master pushed him, and Tom Baker fell, and he was holding on to this thing, and the Master finished him off and shoved him, and Tom Baker falls to his death and regenerates. So to hear him 7, 8 doctors later go, "Well, you've fallen," that just really cracked me up. Well, of course, you know he fell. You did it.
Well, that is one thing they do well in Doctor Who is they put little tidbits from the old shows in.
Yeah. They did that with I think it was Matt Smith. I think it was Matt Smith when he looked up at one point and said "Jelly Baby," and they dubbed in Tom Baker's voice saying, "Do you want a Jelly Baby?" That was, I can't hear Jelly Baby without, it just good goosebumps, wonderful feelings. And there was a lot that Peter Capaldi did that the writers snuck in this final episode. They said that they were doing like an ode to one of the doctors. And it was either, there was just so much. They did so much to quote the first 3 and 4 doctors. And I can't remember the main quote at the very end. It was like the primary quote, and I cannot remember what it was. My mind's a blank. I should have written it down. But yeah, I am curious what Jodie's going to do with the role. And I'm also curious what the writer's going to do with the role. Because the writer, he we were talking about Broadchurch before. He's done Torchwood, which
and he's done some. He's actually written some Doctor Who episodes, so yes. I mean, he knows his way around the universe.
He did Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
Yes.
So as soon as I got the name, I pulled it up and looked through it and saw which episodes he wrote. Yeah. And there are other episodes written by other authors, and when I see their names, I go, "Oh, good God, please tell me it's not them." Like the Daleks in Manhattan with the pig people. That was a horrible arc. That's still, my daughter wanted to see that one, and it was like oh, please, anything but that. We finally.
I still don't understand the Statue of Liberty thing in that episode.
It was so horrible.
It was just.
It was the
Why
Empire State
didn't people
Building.
notice the Statue of Liberty moving?
No, that was Angels Take Manhattan.
Oh, Angels Take. Okay,
yeah,
what's
this is you. Get
I remember that one. Okay, sorry, wrong Manhattan.
Yeah, it's Dalekadium.
Okay, that was the tower one where they were building the
Empire State Building.
Yeah. Okay, I remember now.
The people all turned to pigs, and there was the flapper. Yeah, you put it from your mind.
Yeah, that was weird too.
It was horrible, and. She only wrote the one episode, and she never came back to Doctor Who. That was her one contribution.
Yeah. Manhattan's been terribly misabused by Doctor Who, obviously.
Oh, what cracks me up, the first time you see Manhattan in Doctor Who was when it was the second Doctor, and they were chasing him. Oh, that was such a wonderful day. It was the war. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was the Time War. The War Games. It was War Games. It's my favorite classic Who arc. The Doctor arrives at this planet, and he's speaking to. I love this arc so much. He is speaking to this redcoat, an English soldier from the 1700s, and he's like, "Okay, so we must be in England in the 1700s." And he goes down the road, and there is a Roman soldier, and he's like, "Okay, did we screw something up?" Okay. And he keeps walking, and then he comes to a World War I German soldier. And he's like, "When and where am I?" And the story reveals that this other Time Lord, and I cannot remember if it's the Master or not, I think it was the Master, plucked all these armies out from all of history and clumped them together in this grid, in an octagon. And the center office where time did not touch, where the real time was in the dead center. These are so fascinating episodes. I wish they went back to these. So you had like the Civil War, you had the French Revolution, you had the Mexican-American War, you had the British Army for the 17th century wars, the Revolution, you had the French Revolution, you had the Roman armies. So, and it was at a point where everything got messed up. Time was just tangled all over the place. And the Doctor, his companions, and Jamie was with him. Jamie and Zoe were with him for this. So Jamie, Zoe, and the Doctor started running through all these different wars. And there was a time mist that separated each war. So you could actually pass through the mist and enter a new time zone. And at one point, they get their hands on a chariot. And the Doctor is riding a chariot all through the time zones being chased by the Master. It was really weird. And it gets messed up so much that the Doctor's like, okay, I hate to do it, but we're going to have to call in the big boys. We're going to have to call the Time Lords. And Jamie's like, well, but you're a wanted criminal. You stole the TARDIS 40 type. What are you going to do? He goes, this is out of my hands. If this is going to get put right, we got to call the Time Lords. So they put an emergency call in. The Doctor does this anonymous, you need to come quick, hands up the phone, and takes off running before the Time Lords can get there. It's the Time Lords. This is a joke. So there's like a good 2 episodes of the Doctor on the run. And the Time Lords are like, really? You're going to run from us? All right, we'll screw with you. And the Doctor materializes at the bottom of an erupting volcano. He then materializes at the bottom of the ocean, and there is this great whale coming at him. He materializes inside the body of the jaws of a shark. Like, they just mess with him. And finally, at one point, they materialize on the top of the Empire State Building. So that's like the first time you see it. And they, of course, it was a studio in Cardiff. It was not, maybe it was Cardiff. It was in England. And they had to hire somebody who is not a New Yorker to come in and pretend to be a New Yorker. But it was really interesting. It was like their first dip into, okay, let's pretend that we're in New York. So yeah, they have like a long-standing, let's just go to Manhattan in Doctor Who. I am really eager to see what she does, though. I think they should have 2 male companions for once.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, because I don't think they're going to be keeping Bill, which is a shame. But
no, he's already confirmed that Bill's gone.
Yeah.
No, she has met her days, and that's it. I was watching.
I think she's coming back for the Christmas episode. I heard.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, she's making a brief appearance in the Christmas. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's just rumor or not, but I'd like to see it. Yeah, because I like Bill. I was really disappointed they took Bill along with Peter Capaldi.
I loved Bill. I loved her to pieces.
But I mean, I can understand them wanting a new start, but still, I think Bill deserved a better shot at being a companion.
I think Bill needed to go on, especially with her homosexual nature being paired up with Jodie Whittaker. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I would have absolutely loved to have seen that. Absolutely. Why cancel Bill now? I loved Bill. I absolutely adored her. She was one of my favorite companions. Yeah. And I have a long list of knowing companions, and that one, she's definitely at the top. So I want to see.
Frankly, for me, I think anybody would have been better after Clara.
I
hated
Clara. Clara was great as Oswald. She was great when she was the Dalek. That's actually when I prefer her.
No, I didn't mind her as the Victorian Clara either.
I hated Victorian Clara.
Well, I mean, it's not so much the character I hated or the actress; it's the way they used her in the show.
Yeah, when she there was this massive buildup of she was the impossible girl.
And then it was like, that's the solution. I mean,
The Leaves of Akaton was awesome. The Reigns of Akaton was gorgeous with her impossible leaf. Gorgeous. Loved that episode. I loved her right up until the moment came where, okay, this is it. I'm the impossible girl. I'm the one who has to step into this portal and die.
And right then and there, she
should have died.
She took over the Doctor Who story there.
Yeah.
It's basically, they said Clara's more important than the doctor in that episode.
Yeah, she should have died. I was so ticked. And when she didn't die, I was like, I am so done with this companion. She was the companion who wouldn't die.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was Clara.
Flying around the universe somewhere with the one from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, really. She was the companion who wouldn't die. Yeah, I loved Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane was phenomenal. Mel was a nightmare. Mel was the 1980s. There were two 1980 companions. Mel had your big bushy hair with a headband, and
she was the health nut, right?
She was the health nut, and she was convinced that the doctor was fat and needed to go on a diet, and so she made him guzzle carrot juice. Like, that was the whole arc, her entire existence with the doctor. I don't think the sixth doctor would have been that bad if Mel had not been there. The Ronnie, I would love to see the Ronnie come back. The Ronnie were another Time Lord. That it was the Master, the Ronnie, and the Doctor. So there were 3 Time Lords, all jumbling around, and all 3 of them having an issue with each other. And then there was Romano, which I'm going to forever scream that they need to bring Romana back. Romana was used for the Keys of Marinus, and she was brought in. It was an amazing, they've never done it since, and I really think they should. It was a treasure hunt. Tom Baker era, 70s, where they said, okay, we need this quest item. It was very much an epic fantasy style Doctor Who at that time. And they said, we need this quest item. We need you to seek out the Keys of Marinus. There are 5 keys scattered across the galaxy. We are going to gift you with Romana, a Time Lord, who will help you find the keys. It was 1 key for every arc, and every arc was 5 to 10 episodes. So it was this massive scavenger hunt of these 2 Time Lords and K9 journeying together, one place after the other, in search of these Keys of Marinus. And at one point, they for one arc, they picked up 3 or 2 additional people. So the Doctor had 3 traveling companions for this one arc. And then the companions left, and it was just he and Romana and K9 again. And they stopped off again. They picked up more companions. But Romana, you get to see her regeneration. And it was very different than how they regenerated today. The regenerations have really evolved. And I like the way they regenerate today. I do like that. Romana's regeneration, she was played by 2 actresses. The first one, she was terrible. Everyone hated her. She was just such a nasty, nasty person. And they started the next arc, and this woman came on, and the doctor's like, who are you? You can't take that body. She's like, well, why not? I liked it. I saw it. I want it. You can't have that body. Go find another one. Fine. So the girl walks into a dressing room. She comes out a minute later, like she stood 2 feet taller than Tom Baker. That was hilarious. And she was dressed like an Amazon barbarian. It was really, it wasn't like an Amazon goddess like Wonder Woman. It was like a cave woman, 2 feet taller than Tom Baker. And Tom Baker was tall. And he's like, no, go change. And she came out with 2 other bodies. And finally he's like, all right, fine, you can have that body. So the new Romano was amazing. But she was a Time Lord. They got each other. They understood each other. And they went on this massive adventure. She did not go back to Gallifrey. She hated Gallifrey. So when her adventure was done with the Doctor, she went off into space in Galaxy G or Galaxy H. And she's still there. She was never on Gallifrey. She wasn't there when the Time War happened. She is still out there. So there's no reason why Romana can't come back.
They never mentioned that, though.
Yeah. Like, Romana is amazing. And
unless the Doctor knows something we don't.
Yeah. I'm like, where is Romana? Bring her back.
I mean, if she wasn't on Gallifrey, then technically he's not the last Time Lord.
Yeah, that's right.
Wasn't the last Time Lord because Gallifrey's back. But anyway.
Yeah. No, absolutely. She is still out there. She was always out there. Why he didn't seek her out?
Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
Odd.
I don't know. And I'm still like,
there's a story. I wonder if they ever did anything on that in the audiobooks.
Yeah, I haven't looked into the audiobooks yet. I loved Romana though. It drives me crazy. And the other one was a human. She was on Gallifrey. I cannot remember her name, but I loved her to pieces. She was a companion. She was.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, because I remember that, but I can't remember which companion.
She was so funny. She was a Xena warrior princess. And the Doctor was very kind to his companions. Well, you see that. He loves and adores his companions. He treated this one like crap. Like, he treated her like crap. I really think he crushed on her. Of all the companions, I think he really did like this one. Well, except for Rose. But what is her name? Leela. It was Leela. And the original canine, because there's been 4 canines. The very first canine stayed with Leela. That was the first mistress. That's what he called her. Canine called her. And they stopped by on Gallifrey, and Leela and Canine stayed on Gallifrey, and then the Doctor went off again. So when Gallifrey was lost in the Time War, that was one very particular face, two very particular characters that I knew very well. And I lost it with the Ninth Doctor when he explained what he'd done, that Gallifrey was lost. Watching Classic Who, there was just so much, so many people, so many faces, so many characters and places that you knew from Gallifrey. So when they said that it was destroyed, I spent days just going through the cast of everyone. It was devastating. They killed off like 16 characters in one sentence, and I'm just like, well, what about Leela? What about K9? What about this guy? It was crazy. I still cannot believe they did it. I'm still angry about what they did.
But then they went and undid it, so.
Yeah, and then they went and undid it. I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah, I really don't know what that is.
It makes sense.
We wrote ourselves into a corner. Oops, let's fix this.
It makes sense in the context of the Doctor Who universe.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give me a paradox headache, so it must work.
Yeah. Yeah, I love their paradox headaches.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the one thing with the time travel shows, that those paradoxes, I mean, some of them, they're just like too confusing. At least Doctor Who tries to explain it.
Oh, no, Doctor Who admits it. It's very knowledgeable about it. I love how Doctor Who handles it.
Mm.
They really do a great job with it, I think.
It's like,
I'm scanning all 54 years for errors.
Yeah, it's like the best line was David Tennant's, though, was the timey-wimey.
The timey-wimey wibbly
wobbly stuff.
Yeah, and I was watching Blink, and I'm still watching Blink, having epiphany after epiphany with Blink. Like, I'm never going to get over that.
Yeah, that was the best episode. Because I had to go down in the basement after that episode. And it's like, okay, there are no statues down here, right? You know?
No, I have to tell you, this is Ace, the actress who played Ace. They all shared their what's your favorite Doctor Who episode from the modern episodes, and across the board, all 3 actors, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and the actress who played Ace, all said The Empty Child. And the actress who played Ace, she explained that, I'm just going to call her Ace because I don't remember her name, it was Sophie something. It was an event in her house to watch Doctor Who. They put the kids to bed. She had like a little 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. She put the boys to bed. They turned the lights off. She sits down with her husband to watch The Empty Child. And of all the Doctor Who's, this one really, it creeps you out. Like, it really gives you goosebumps. I was like horror movie style, curled up to my husband going, I'm scared.
That one did not creep me out. I mean, I loved it.
You're a horror author. You don't count.
Well, yeah, but I don't watch horror. The horror creeps me out.
It creeped me out. Well, she's sitting there and they hear thumping upstairs, and her husband says, "You're the mom. Go ahead. They're gonna want you." So she gets up. She walks over the staircase, and there is a little 4-year-old boy going, "Mommy." She's like, oh, no. Her son had climbed out of bed, started halfway down the stairs. It was like this black hallway, and there's this little 4-year-old, Mommy. And just, there's Doctor Who scaring the crap out of you and your own children. So, yeah. But Blink, I just watched that with my daughter, and I was doing a whole, I get it, I think I understand. I could not for the life of me figure out why the Doctor was there, why the Doctor happened to be at that location, at that particular house, to lose the TARDIS to those angels. Why? Like, how did all that get started? And I figured out, okay, so the angels went after the TARDIS, they touched the Doctor, they sent him back to 1969. I get that. And the Doctor explained that it sends it to the last place that he was, which was 1969. But I'm still sitting there going, yeah, but what was he doing? It's an awfully huge coincidence. Finally, and I must have watched this episode 10 times, and I finally got that link. So Sally gives the Doctor the papers and says, you're going to need this. You're going to get caught back in time. And then she leaves. I think the Doctor, he goes in, he has the adventure with God knows what's hatching in that place. I love that story. He returns to the TARDIS. He opens that file, and he realizes, okay, I apparently have to go to this location to write Sally Sparrow, duck, for real, duck, the Doctor on this wall. So I think when he goes there to write this on the wall, that is when the angels zero in. That's when he loses the TARDIS, and that's when he's thrown back in time.
Yeah, it's a causality loop.
Yeah, and I think that by her giving him that folder, that is the catalyst that sends him to that location to write that message, to send him back in time, to go through everything there. And that right there was the piece that it took me 6-7 viewings to finally piece together. But no, Blink was amazing. Blink was astounding.
Yeah, that one and The Doctor's Wife, those two would be my favorite.
Loved The Doctor's Wife. Yep, loved The Doctor's Wife. So I came up with a Doctor Who episode that I would love to see. And I was just telling my daughter about this today. The Doctor, you see the TARDIS in episode 1, season 1, all the way back from 63, where the TARDIS is the 1963 phone box. And it was the only time it actually blended in because it was 1963 in London and it was a police box from 1963 in London. So there was no, what is that box? What's a police box? Everyone knew what it was. So they get in the police box and they have their first adventure and they're like, what's going on? Oh, the chameleon circuit must be broken. So you are right there in episode 1 going, what's a chameleon circuit? Well, it's something that helps you disguise it. Apparently it's stuck. I'll have to fix that, says the Doctor. Episode 1, season 1. It kind of never gets fixed. And the 6th Doctor, Colin Baker, comes along and he fixes the chameleon circuit. So for one episode, the TARDIS flashes all over the place and it shows up properly. It's a box, it's a wall, it's a piano dumped in the corner. So the chameleon, you actually see the chameleon circuit working. And Colin boasts, well, the Doctor, the 6th Doctor boasts that he is the best version of himself. Literally, that was his favorite line. He is the best version of himself because he was able to fix the chameleon circuit that no other Doctor before him could ever fix. He realized that he kept losing the TARDIS because it wasn't that gorgeous blue box. So he broke it again purposely to fix it back. I would love to see an episode where the chameleon circuit fixes itself and like it jars just right and it goes back and it's normal again, but he can't find the TARDIS because every time it materializes, he can't find it because it's something new. So the whole episode revolves around him trying to re-break it again. I would love to see that episode. Now, the TARDIS, you get to see the Type 40 TARDIS of the Master, and it's a pillar, which is really weird. It's a pillar. It's a Greek pillar. And so you see the Master walk behind this pillar, and then you see it dissolve. It was very weird. And the Master also leaves the brakes on.
Was it the brake or the emergency brake?
The brakes on.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch. See, that's another addition. I did not like that. It's like, no. Okay. But no. I can see the 11th Doctor leaving the brakes on. I cannot see Tom Baker leaving the brakes on. I cannot see John.
Maybe the Doctor just likes the sound.
Yeah, I think that's it. I do not see Doctor 1 or Doctor 3 or Doctor 4 leaving the brakes on. Doctor 2 would have. David Tennant would not have. They would not have left the brakes on. The 11th Doctor would have, absolutely. So it's weird. It's weird to, I don't know. I also wanted to know what River would think of her being
Yeah.
But she's gone now. Same thing with Rose.
Yeah,
like,
well, technically that can bring River back, though.
Yeah, she's
still technically in the library.
Yeah, she's in the library.
And she can communicate from the library, as demonstrated in that Clara episode.
Yeah. I hate Clara.
Yeah.
That was what it was. The paradox was that the doctor would not have remembered Clara. But somebody pointed out that he clearly did remember Clara, because then he went around and said goodbye to everybody. And one of the people he said goodbye to was Clara. I really hated Clara. The companion who wouldn't die.
Even though we wanted her to.
Yeah. And I'm trying. Ace was horrible. I did not like Ace. Mainly because
the couple episodes I've seen, I did kind of like her. She was interesting because she was different, I think.
I think I had a problem with her because I had that outfit.
Yeah, I can see that. But I think she holds the record as the only companion to have actually hit a Dalek with a baseball bat.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying
I think that's why I liked her, though, because she wasn't afraid to get physical. Like, most of the companions, they kind of defer to the doctor. She just kind of rushed in and kicked.
Leela did, and this is why I love Leela. It was funny because you really get to see the era, the mentality. You get to see that 1960s vision of what women were during Doctor Who in the 60s. You get to see it change in the 70s. Watching Doctor Who for 54 years was like watching politics, was like watching culture, food, marketing, women's rights, civil rights, all evolve very, very quickly in front of your eyes. It was astounding to witness. You see Barbara, your proper housewife model, etiquette, no one raises their voice. You see that 1960s kind of women have empowerment. You see that equal rights move up. You see suddenly that the blacks are definitely taking a stand for their rights. You see suddenly women, and Leela did this. Leela gets in there, and she was a warrior that the doctor picked up off of one of the planets. And my favorite, he bashed her so much. He called her heathen. He literally nicknamed her heathen. And prior to Leela, it was, yes, Miss Jane. Yes, Sarah Jane, you really need to, just do what I say. Follow me. Don't wander off. Oh, dear child, can't you? It was very formal. Leela comes along, and he's like, yeah, you're very smart. Come on, heathen. And she's like, I am not a heathen. You don't respect me. Yeah, I respect you all right. Let's go, heathen. Like, he called her heathen. And there's this one episode where the doctor presents himself, and he's declaring, I am the person who's going to help you. Don't ask me questions because you need me, and I'm a genius, and I'm clever. And the people started arguing right away, as they always do. But Leela pulls out her dagger, shoves it to the guy's throat like this, and goes, you will listen to him because he is the doctor. And Tom Baker just looks at her like, I like her. And he glowed like, yeah, I need to keep her around. And yeah, I really wish he had a companion like that again. Like, she was his little warrior. Like,
the warrior Xena princess. Warrior Xena princess.
And she idolized him. Like, they had a wonderful relationship. I absolutely loved it. No one did that. People walk in and they talk back to the doctor, and the doctor handles it. Not with Leela. Leela handled it. It was great. There's this one, I recorded this on Instagram because it cracked me up so much. It was the Leela episode where they're at this lighthouse and there's something weird going on. I can't remember if it was ghosts or something, but somebody is pushed from the lighthouse light, and they called down to the bottom of the lighthouse where Tom Baker is to say that so-and-so's been killed. And Tom answers the phone, and he's got this very, okay, thank you for letting me know. And he hangs up the phone, and there's dead silence. Leela's there. There's like a woman with a mouse, with a fur on. They're all watching, interesting, like what's happening. And so-and-so's dead. And the woman just, no! and Leela just slaps her face, like slap. It was it was so funny. It was like you're watching a movie. How many times does the woman break down in hysterics, and you just want to slap her, and suddenly there's Leela slapping her. I love Leela. Best companion ever was Leela. Oh, loved her to pieces. She was great. I would love to see one of those companions come back for her. I would love to see that. Like there is definitely a difference between classic Who and modern Who, and honestly, between the two of them, I prefer classic Who. I absolutely prefer something about classic Who. I don't know what it is. It just, I don't know. It gives me warm fuzzies. Whereas the modern Who, I'm biting my nails and I'm like, what's happening next? But yeah, I know I'm really, really eager to see what Jodie's going to do with the role.
Well, I think with the classic Who, they did kind of try to gear it more towards kids.
Yeah.
Especially the first
few, very much.
Which may have given it more of a softer feel to it than the modern. Because, I mean, the modern Who is definitely geared towards adults, no matter what they say.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was interesting because Stephen Moffat had a serious problem with them killing Adrit. Yes. Or was it Tom Baker? They said that they had a really big problem with them killing. Yeah, it was to Stephen Moffat because it's a kid's show. He said the same thing about Bill. He's like, under no circumstance should you kill a character in Doctor Who because it's Doctor Who. It's for kids.
No, it's not.
No,
that's what they said. It's a kid's show.
I'm sorry. When I saw The Empty Child, there was this massive. Do I let my kids watch this? Yeah, I didn't even know if I was going to go back and rewatch the episode.
Yeah, the modern Doctor Who is not a kid's show. No. I don't care what they say.
Now, let's talk. That was the other thing. The Sixth Doctor. You want to talk about not for kids. I'm trying to figure out how to explain that. It's that 54 years of culture and that fast forwarding. In the 1980s, we got into this, hey, let's be violent. Let's show violence. I blame Vietnam War for this and them taking the cameras over to Nam for this. So that became a thing to do in the 80s. Television became very, very violent suddenly. In the 80s.
There was a lot of action shows on the 80s, all of which I liked, by the way. I'm just saying.
They decided to do this with Doctor Who. No Doctor is more violent, more disturbing, more dark and graphic than the Sixth Doctor.
Their ratings were slipping badly at that point. So they were trying anything.
I think it slipped for a lot of reasons. They changed up the Doctor. They fired the entire writing staff. There's like a science to the writing of Doctor Who, a massive science. And it was fascinating to watch it evolve over the 54 years, which I'll go into next. But there is one very particular episode. It was the darkest of dark episodes. The Doctor arrives on this planet and everyone is dressed in black. They're all watching TV. And the Doctor's like, okay. And he's watching the show, and the television that the people are watching it's an execution. It's a torture and execution. And they're like, the Doctor's like, what are you watching? And they're like, well, this is what we watch. It's TV. And the whole thing revolved around execution for entertainment, a human being tortured for entertainment. It was a very dark, horrific episode. And that was just one of the few episodes like that for the Sixth Doctor, where they were very, very dark, very Addams Family without the comedy almost. It was very graphic. And that really tanked their ratings. That was one of the reasons why it tanked their ratings, was because of the material that they decided to handle. The writers, when they first started writing, they had a team. An actor would come, or a writer would come on, and they would do the first set. And then they invited another person to come on, another writer, and they would author an arc. And the third arc, they invited Terry Nation on. And Terry Nation turned down the job, went back to another job, got fired, and said, screw it, I'll go ahead and do the job for Doctor Who that they requested. and that is the father of the Daleks. He is the one who created the Daleks. So, and that's when the show exploded overnight. They walked away with 10 million viewers. So, and then they cycled. They had like 4 authors in the first season that just cycled story after story. And every time Terry Nation name came up in the script, my husband and I would be like, oh, it's going to be a good episode. And it was. Terry Nation was a phenomenal author. They brought in Douglas Adams at one point, who is I swear to you, he is the one responsible for writing the Borg from Star Trek. It was Pirates in Space. Space Pirates was the arc that Douglas Adams first wrote. And they were the Borg. They looked like the Borg. They had the same helmets as the Borg, the same eyepiece. It was the Borg. So it was really weird because I'm sitting there looking at it in 1960s, 70s going, okay, so Douglas Adams created the Borg in Doctor Who 40 years before Star Trek would even introduce the Borg. It was really fascinating. And they cycled over this handful of authors, and then they would bring on more. And to get invited to write for the show was phenomenal. It was a huge honor. In modern Who, and I think this is where everything kind of, they learned from this. With the 6th Doctor, they fired the staff. They fired everybody. They brought in a new producer. They brought in a new writers, new actor, new cast, new everything across the board. And they threw away their formula. And I think that is why it tanked. They realized there was a massive, oops, we messed this up. Let's bring in somebody else. They literally fired Colin Baker to the point where Colin wasn't even allowed to come back and do the Regeneration. So they had Sylvester McCoy wear a wig and do a fill-in for that.
Yeah, I seen the clip of that on YouTube.
Yeah, oh, it was bad. It was bad. It was bad. That was, and I'll tell you, that was noticeable when you see each and every Regeneration, and then you're sitting there and you see that Regeneration. We're like,
yeah.
I feel
at least in the TV movie, they brought Sylvester McCoy back to do his
that was decent.
scene.
No, that was, and I'm still miffed about Christopher Eccleston. I am still miffed that I could not see him regenerate. It still rubs me the wrong way. I'm like, like Paul McGann and then Christopher Eccleston. There's a gap there, and I want that gap. And just for the record, Patrick Troughton was 450 years old. That was season 2. So when he comes in at 980 years old, just to give you an idea how much time passes from 2nd Doctor to 9th. That was interesting when he said he was 450 years old, and I'm like, wow. And at that point, he had a 500-year-old diary, not a 2,000-year-old diary. So that was interesting as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, if you count that episode arc where he kept being regenerated artificially for like, what was it,
7 billion years.
Yeah. So he's technically 7 billion
years old. Now, that's interesting because they wiped his memory of that. And I don't think they should have. I think that's crap that they wiped his memory of that incident. But that's the 2nd time the Doctor has had his memory wiped, which bothers me. The first time he had it wiped is when he was elected as the president of Gallifrey. He is the president of Gallifrey.
And Earth, apparently.
Yeah, in the galaxy, yeah.
So yeah, just make him president of the universe and be done with it.
Yeah. No, that was really upsetting because he's president of Gallifrey. He is their lord, and and he doesn't even know it. The people did not want him to be the president. I love how that fell into place. That beautiful arc. Phenomenal arc when he was elected as president. And he wasn't really elected, it was default. The person he was running against got killed. So he won by default. And then he came back, and it was so wonderful. Beginning of the arc, you're on Gallifrey. Suddenly the Doctor walks in the room. He lands the TARDIS, walks in the room like he owns the place, because he does. And he says, I'm here to claim my presidency. I'm the president. This is what happened. I'm president. Put me in charge. Like, that was how they introduced this season. And they had to honor him. So they put him in the big hat and the big thing. And he was president, and he ran the place. By the end of that arc, he had lost his memory. And they did not tell him. they did not want him knowing. So they sent him on his way with the TARDIS, and they got him off of Gallifrey as quickly as possible before he got his memory back and remembered, oh yeah, I'm the president. So he has a lot more power with Rassilon. And that was another character. When they brought Rassilon on, I knew exactly who that was. That was a big deal to finally meet Rassilon after all those years. And that was, so the writers, when they messed up everything for the 6th Doctor, and I think this is really what it comes down to with the 13th Doctor and today. I watched them mess it up once, and I watched them fix it. I don't think they will ever make that mistake again. I think that they learned, they know what they did wrong, and they have handled cast writing for Doctor Who very delicately since, because they learned from what happened with the 6th Doctor, that it's the writing that will tank the show. And I've been watching, what they'll do is somebody will come in, I think it was T. Russell, and he went through with the writing very, very systematically. And he was the head writer, and they brought other writers in under him, and they mentored. And then he handpicked one of the 5 apprentices, Stephen Moffat. And then I watched Stephen Moffat come in, and he had all these apprentices underneath him, and they hand selected one of them, and that is the author to come up next. So there is like this grooming, there's an apprenticeship, there's a process. It is they will never again screw this up. I really don't think they will. They messed it up once, they lost the show, and I don't think they will ever mess this up again. So, yeah. And that's all I have to say about that.
So what do you think her costume's going to be for the new Doctor?
You
have any preferences?
I love the black, the long blue coat. Wow, something quirky. It's got to be something weird. But it's a female. It's really going to be hard, because you can't really go nerd. See, that they've got a lot that they're up against. You can't do the long scarf again. I see, sunglasses was taken by Peter Capaldi. I don't see them bringing that back.
You can always do a hat.
I just went through. Well, they did a hat with Matt Smith. They did a hat with Tom Baker. Peter Davison had his celery. That was an awesome celery, by the way. It was Velcro. That celery was Velcro. I'm still trying to figure it out. And it wasn't fake. It was real broccoli. He picked it up and did that, and it stuck. Yeah. He had Velcroed to his shirt.
Yeah. He even came up with an explanation as to why he had the celery on his jacket.
Peter Davison, or it was in the show why he had it was a cute.
I think it was, I'm not sure if it was the writers or Peter Davison that came up with the idea, but it was interesting.
It was really weird, his broccoli. Yeah, it was just really, really weird, his broccoli. Now, there's an episode with Peter Davison called Terminus. And if you watch Walking Dead, Walking Dead fans really need to go back and watch the episode called Terminus. The whole thing is Walking Dead. They land on a spaceship infested with plague-ridden, diseased people who look and walk like zombies. And if they touch you, you get the disease. And at one point, you see the doors are closed, and you see the zombie-like hands reaching out between the cracks of the doors. Sound familiar? And the spaceship was called Terminus. It was weird. I was watching, and I'm like, okay, so I think the writers
some of these writers have watched Doctor Who, apparently.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so I think the writers of Walking Dead are Whovians. They've got to be.
Walking Dead's based on a comic, so maybe the original creator.
I think that author is a Whovian. I think he watched Terminus. I would not be surprised. There was probably 4 scenes that was pulled right, duplicated. I cannot say that it was literally duplicated in Walking Dead. And like I said, the episode is called Terminus. So, yeah, it was really, really interesting to see.
Well, writers do pull from what they've grown up with or seen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting to see the root. Same thing with Star Trek. There's a lot of Star Trek in it. So, Mr. Spock. I love that. Rose calling him Mr. Spock. So, yeah, I have no idea what she's going to wear. They did the lacy bit twice already. John Pertwee and Paul McGann in the movie both had lacy bits. I don't see her wearing lace. What I see really is there's going to be a problem with her not being ginger. And that's what I noticed. When I saw the doctor, I went, oh, he's going to be so upset. He's not a ginger. Then I went, oh, he's also a woman too. Oh, he's going to be really upset.
That's going to be interesting when the regeneration happens and he realizes he's now a she. Yeah, it's like, what's the reaction going to be?
Yeah, I think he's more upset about the idea that he's not ginger. Like, really? Yes. You could at least make me ginger. I couldn't be I see that being more of an issue with him. No, that's the heels. That's going to be interesting. I see him having an adaptation period where.
Oh no, I hope they don't give her heels.
She needs combat boots.
Yeah, you cannot run in heels. I don't care about the movies and the rest. You cannot run in heels.
I see her wearing combat boots. I don't know. And the wardrobe. I mean, okay, so the TARDIS would have everything. God, this is going to be so much fun. And that's really what I see. It's just fun. I cannot wait. I am waiting for the moment when the Doctor regenerates as a duck. Or he regenerates as, and I'll watch it. It doesn't matter. Why human? Why not regenerate as an alien? Like there's like so much. I would love for him to.
The Doctor regenerating is Howard the Duck.
Yeah, the Doctor could do it. And it's funny. I would tune in because it's just, well, okay. Apparently he's a duck now. All right, okay. Where's he going to next? I missed the screen. I missed the scanner. That they've completely done away with in Modern Who is the scanner, and that really bothers me.
What's the scanner? I don't think I've seen that.
Exactly, the scanner. It was the TV in the TARDIS where the only way the Doctor knew where he landed was by checking the scanner. Every time they landed, it was a, where are we? When are we? Let's check the scanner.
Oh, yeah. I vaguely remember that from
an episode. I love Tom Baker. He's, okay, let's see where we are now. And he turns on the scanner and you see a rock wall. And he goes, ooh, rocks!
And actually, I'd like to see that in the Modern Who. They should bring it back.
Yeah, I love the scanner. It was part of the adventure. We've landed. Where are we? Let's check the scanner. Ooh. All right, looks like we can breathe. The air is breathable. We are on an M-class planet. All right, then, everything looks good. Let's go. Like, that is the process. They would decide what should we wear. Let's get the clothes on. They would prepare, and then they would exit the TARDIS. It was a thing. That I do miss. I miss that so very much. And I think that is why I prefer Classic Who, is because that whole process, it was like a Christmas present. Where are we now? And they would turn on the scanner, and there'd be like this, ooh, let's see where we are. And like I said, that one day twice they were buried under lava. So, and that was another thing. The TARDIS has been, it's indestructible, except when the Titanic hits it. That still makes no sense to me. That was a huge, if it can survive. Yeah, same thing with Pompeii. When Pompeii went off, that's not a problem. The TARDIS would have been fine. I understand their urgency to get in the TARDIS, but no, the TARDIS has been at the bottom of lava. It's been buried in lava. No, they're fine. The TARDIS is not a problem with lava. So, yeah, I missed the scanner. I think that's all I have to say. Do you have anything else to add, to contemplate?
Well, the new sonic screwdriver. I wonder if they're going to keep that or do something weird like this.
Yeah, they'll keep it.
I hope so, because the sonic sunglasses did not go over well.
No, I did not like the sonic sunglasses. They had a sonic
I like
ring.
Peter Capaldi in the sunglasses because he looked cool in sunglasses, but I didn't like the without the screwdriver.
But he went back to the screwdriver.
He did, because everybody complained about the sonic sunglasses. Oh, you should have. Oh, the things, the Facebook, Twitter. Oh, hate the sonic sunglasses.
Yeah, he had a sonic ring in the first episode. That was interesting to see William Hartnell walking up and like doing this with his ring, and you see, yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's the screwdriver. He did that 3 or 4 times where William Hartnell used the ring, and within the first few minutes of Patrick Troughton wearing the ring, it slipped off his finger. It was way too big for him. And it's funny because his clothes were too big, and it's the only time the doctor did not indulge in the wardrobe. It was the only time the doctor did not indulge in the wardrobe. He regenerated. He didn't even acknowledge what clothes he was wearing. The ring fell off. He picked up the ring, put it in his pocket, picked up his 500-year-old diary and his recorder, and ignored Jamie and Zoe. Ignored them. And then just started walking around with his diary. And they're like, "Doctor, hello?" And he's just like, "Yeah, who are you?" He was great. And he said almost nothing in the first episode. He just played his recorder, and they're like, "Stop playing that thing." And he's like, "I'm thinking." And he played so bad. He played so terribly. I missed the recorder.
Apparently, he took music lessons to
every doctor,
because Peter Capaldi could certainly play the guitar.
Yes, every doctor has played an instrument since the second Doctor. Every doctor. Matt Smith was the only one to not play, but he composed music, and that was brought out in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. But now Tom Baker is sitting in a field one day, and he's playing with the grass, and the scene unfolds, and you're just like, what is he doing? Sarah Jane was with him, and she was off wandering around, and the doctor just got playing in the grass. Within a few, like, the scene flashes forward, and he had made a musical instrument out of the grass and was playing it, like, professionally. And then Sylvester McCoy plays the spoons, and they put that in Doctor Who so he could play the spoons. And Colin Baker played the piano. David Tennant played the organ. I'm trying to go back through all of them. Every one of them at one point has played an instrument, except William Hartnell and Matt Smith. But Matt Smith composed music.
And I don't know about Paul McGann, because I don't think he played anything in the movie.
I have to go back to that. I was pretty sure he did. I thought
maybe
he played an organ, but I'll have to go back.
Oh, wait, he did play the piano in that movie, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He sat down at the piano and played it.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
But that is a trait. That is a trait donated by Patrick Troughton. That is absolutely from him. So I love. Yeah, but Tom Baker was my favorite with that, because he sat down and you see him fiddling with the grass, and you're like, what is he doing? And you see him fiddling, and I can't remember if it was a guitar, a lute, or a clarinet, but he created an instrument right there in the grass and then professionally played it. Like, so when Peter Capaldi came out with the guitar, that was just like, all right. So Jodie Whittaker had better play something. She had better play an instrument, because that's what the doctor does. So, but it's funny because Patrick Troughton, his recorder sucked. It was terrible. It was so bad. That's all he played. Badly. He played it badly. It squeaked. It was horrible. That's how he thought. It was. Oh, and it made Jamie so mad. Jamie got so mad when he did it. I think we're all done here. It's 9:15. We've been on for an hour, and I cannot think. In general, I'm just really excited about Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah. There is one thing I do hope that they do on the new season, is they bring back Captain Jack. For one episode.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that. Oh my God.
I would love to see his reaction to the female Doctor Who.
No.
Just the flirting alone.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about it. Hello, Doctor. Oh God.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
I mean, even if it was just for one episode, I would just love to see.
Someone mentioned that they wanted to see Jack and Rory. He's like, just once I wanted to see Jack come in with.
Well, actually, technically, you have seen Jack and Rory. Only they were Merlin and Rip Hunter.
No. They said because Jack would have been like, "Hello, Rory," and Rory would have been like,
"Yeah, exactly."
And Amy would have been like, "Don't you touch him."
Exactly.
He's spoken for. And Rory just would have been like, the look on Rory's face. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't even think about Jack. That's going to be really weird.
Yeah, because I mean, he's not in the CW shows anymore. So I mean, he's available if they want to bring him back for an episode.
Yeah. God, that's going to be weird. But he does age. He does age. That is genius. I see what they've done. They made a character that they can bring back in 20 years, in 30 years. They have the Brigadier. As long as that actor is alive, he can come back on the show because he will age and he lives forever. So they can easily keep bringing him back right up until his death day. The Brigadier was hard for me. Sarah Jane was hard. I just watched the episode with Brigadier for the first time. He was in the Yeti episode, but we lost the Yeti episode. So no one has actually seen the Yeti episode since it aired back in the 60s. And the second one after that's the Invasions with Patrick Troughton. And he has got to be 22 years old. The Brigadier is in that. And when you first meet him, he's a colonel. And now he's been promoted to Brigadier. And it's really watching him through unit all this time. And then getting to when Matt Smith called him in and he passed away. I cried. I cried so hard on that to see him go. But I loved the Brigadier. But I see them doing that with Jack. They're very smart to work it in that he does not age or that he ages. So, yeah. Okay. I think we're all set here. I'm probably going to do this again in a couple weeks, definitely for Christmas. And then I do my traditional Goodbye Doctor with Peter Capaldi, which is due after he says goodbye. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. So, thank you very much, Anita.
This is fun.
So, thank you.
Okay.